Hello, everyone, and welcome to another AIHEC Health webinar series. We are really excited. We have Josiah Hugs with us here today. But like I said, we're really excited to have Josiah Hugs here to present to us today on Medicine Wheel Interconnectedness. Josiah Hugs is a member of the Apsaalooke Nation Crow tribe. Josiah is a member of the Ties the Bundle clan and a child of the Greasy Mouth clan. Josiah is from the Arrow Creek district of the Crow Reservation. Josiah walks the red road, utilizing cultural teachings to live in a good way and addressing his mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being every day. Josiah shares his experience, strength, and hope through his podcast, Unspoken Words, a Native podcast, which he co-hosts with his friends Randy Beardontwalk and JC Beaumont, which can be found on any platform where you listen to podcasts. Josiah has worked with those on the streets that are struggling with addiction as a mentor and addiction counselor, and has worked in suicide prevention for urban Native youth. Josiah is currently the Native American Liaison with Billington. So I am very happy to welcome Josiah, and take it away.
All right, right on. Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be included in your series and this being asked to present today. So as Maggie was saying, my name is Josiah Hugs. My Crow name is Apsaalooke Nation. My Crow name is one who is in the light. I'm from the Arrow Creek district, Pryor, Montana. And today, today, just gonna share a story that was told to me early on as I started walking the red road, and something that I utilize today, and just the cultural practice of storytelling, learning from these stories, using these cultural teachings in everyday life, just to walk out the day in a good way and making sure that you're good. All right, so this story was of a warrior. His name was Beaumont. I've asked numerous elders what the translation would be to English, and it's very difficult. A lot's lost in translation. So we'll call him the Wise Warrior. Now, the Wise Warrior was when the story took place, he was around my age, about 40 years old, late 30s. And you have to understand at this time, in the Wise Warriors day and age, young men began their path of becoming a warrior at ages 12, 13, 11. So by the time he's, late 30s, 40 years old, he's like a well-polished warrior. He had survived many battles, went on many war parties. And with all that knowledge, one of the things that he always preached to his to the warriors that he was mentoring, to the warriors that would listen, he would always tell them, never panic. Whatever you do, keep your mind wherever you're at. Keep your mind, think quickly, and always know your surroundings, know your situational awareness. And one of the things Beaumont, the wise warrior, was known for was he's always looking around, looking up, looking down, looking around, looking over his shoulders throughout the day, because he always wanted to know what was happening around him. He kept his situational awareness up. And so there was Wise Warrior was leading a war party. It was a smaller war party, a group of warriors, again, aging from the ages from 12, 13, all the way up to 40, 50 years old. This war party, there was 20 of them. And they set off, and they were going to go steal horses from the enemy camp. And they had been riding along for about a week or so in search of the enemy camp. And they're riding along. Um, and it's midday. They're riding and they come up on this bluff that goes down into this valley where there's mountains on either side and mountains as far as you can see. And they, go over that little bluff, that little ridge, and they ride past this ridge for about 500-600 yards. And they're, riding all their horses together in their group, and they're talking, they're visiting. And, the wise warrior, keeping his situational awareness up, he looks over his shoulder, um, looks up, looks down, looks back over his left shoulder. And when he does, when he looks back at the ridge they just came over, uh, he sees there's about 200 enemy warriors on the ridge, and they start coming down towards the small group of 20. And the small group of 20, take off, and they're running on their horses, and their wise warrior, thinking quickly, tells his war parties that on the other side of this mountain, there's a river, and a day's ride from on that river, you'll find a beach, a sandy beach. That let's all separate now, and we'll meet up there tomorrow evening on the sandy beach. And with that, all 20 warriors went in 20 different directions. And the wise warrior rode right for the tree line and disappeared. Now, later on that day, or later on that evening, late, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, um, he's walking on foot, leading his horse through the trees, and thinking about I got to keep moving. A lot of enemy in this area, so I got to keep moving. When he starts smelling some smoke, and his spirits are lifted a little bit. So he follows that smell, and he comes upon a lodge, a teepee, and now he sees it through the trees. He squats down, takes a look at the lodge, and he sees men in there, the silhouettes, and he hears talking and laughing, and they're carrying on, and his spirits are even lifted even more, and he's thinking, these are my comrades. I can safe, have a place to sleep and get some food. And so he gets a little bit closer to the lodge, and he ties up his horse, and he walks over to the teepee, and he throws back the door, and he steps inside. And as soon as he stands up, he realizes he made a fatal mistake, because the teepee was filled with enemy warriors. And thinking quickly, at this time, all Plains tribes communicated through sign language. So he told the enemy warriors, he said, I came here to warn you. I was once part of you when I was a child, but the Crow stole me away and raised me as their own. So I begged them to let me come and warn you, because you're surrounded. If you don't leave by daybreak, they're going to come in and kill you. And with that, he stepped on their fire and told them to pack up all their things and leave. And after he stepped on their fire, he turned around, he walked out of the teepee, ran to his horse, jumped on it, and rode off into the night. Now the enemy came, thinking they're surrounded, comes piling out of the teepee. They're jumping in bushes, they're hiding behind trees, they're climbing trees, waiting their impending doom. And they stay hidden until the sun comes up, and at which time they realize that they had been fooled. Now the wise warrior rides on through the next day, finds the river, follows the river, meets up with his comrades on the sandy beach, and they go home, all 20 of them. And just using that as an example, that you keep your mind, don't panic in any situation, you can find a quick solution. And now we'll get into a little bit more on how to do that. So as you look at the medicine wheel, and this is a teaching that I got, and this is the proper way to place the medicine wheel, not in the cross, but to have each end open like this, because what's true for me and what works for me, what happens in my life, is not exactly what's going to happen for you. So as you look at the medicine wheel, the different seasons placed on there, in spring, there's nourishment, new life, growth, um, more sun. We just came out of winter. And if you think about the tree, things are starting to bud. There's leaves are starting to come out. And as you go into the summer, there's more growth. It's hotter. It's there's more movement about outside. And again, you think about the tree, there's more growth and more budding, and all the leaves are out, full color on all the leaves. The roots are growing underneath. And then we start transitioning into the fall. And in the fall season, in the harvest time, animals are putting away food. Larger animals are preparing for winter, whether that's hibernation or migrating to warmer areas. And that transition from summer to fall is really preparation for what's coming next winter. You think about the tree again in the fall season, the leaves start to change colors, and they begin to fall off because the tree is really cut off all its nutrients to its limbs and starting to reserve them for the up and coming winter season. And once you get into the winter season, all the leaves have fallen off. Animals that were going to migrate to warmer climates have gone. Animals that are staying and going to hibernate have gone into that season, have gone into that stage of their preparation. The animals that have stored up foods, they're relying on that. And even in the fall and winter, you think about the tree, there's still growth, but you can't see it. It's in the roots. The roots are still growing. And during the winter season, the tree has totally cut off all nutrients to its limbs, and it's really confined its resources to its core. And but then again, there's still growth happening. And then we go back into spring, and then the cycle begins all over again. And I'm sharing this because the teaching that I've gotten, the teaching that has really helped me walk the red road, is that we go through this cycle as a person. When we're born, we start up here from 0 to 1. We're in our spring. And the things that are happening in nature are happening to us. And then from 1 to 2, that's our summer. And again, things that are happening in nature are happening to us. Fall, same, 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, winter, and then 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and so on and so forth. But going back to the summertime, getting a lot of things growing to their potential, and then you make that transition of fall, that harvest from the summer, the food that grew, really identifying those and using those in your life. And in the fall season, paying attention to circumstances, people that are falling out of your life, whether they are communicating with you or quit coming around, or you're the one that's always reaching out, really taking a step back. And then also those people that are in your life, that are intentional with you, that are in your corner and continuously supporting you, keeping those people around, because those are the individuals that are going to help you get through your winter season. Right now, just really I'll give you a minute or so just to go through this. It's a 4-year cycle and identify where you're at on the medicine wheel. So again, it's 0 to 1, spring. 1 to 2 is summer. 2 to 3 is your fall. 3 to 4 is your winter. 4 to 5 is your spring, and so on and so forth. 4-year cycles that we're continuously going through. And just for me, just to use myself as an example. So in my introduction, I walked the red road. To further define that, I'm in recovery from addiction. And so this cycle is very true. But if you've had any battle with addiction, you mess this whole cycle up. So when you finally start walking the red road, you're in recovery from addiction, you start this whole cycle over again. So for me, right now, I'm in my winter. So every September 9th, that's my recovery birthday, I enter into a different season of my life. So last September 9th, I entered into my winter. But in my fall season, I really paid attention to those people that fell out of my life. And I paid attention to opportunities that went away. I paid attention to who was really genuine with me at work and who was giving me lip service. Because as I went through this winter season, I only got a couple more days left. I'm very thankful for that. As I'm going through this winter season, I held on to those people. I leaned on those individuals that I know truly have my back, that are in my corner, have best intentions for me. And excuse me, sorry. So as I'm about to end my winter season here, September 9th, and go back into my spring, I'm looking forward to new opportunities. And this is a good gauge to help you. It really helps me with hope, because even though I knew from last September 9th to this coming September 9th, I am in my winter season, just identifying that piece gives me hope. It's like, okay, I'm here, but it's not going to be forever. Soon it will end, and I'll go back into my spring and start the cycle all over again. And give you another example, when I'm back in 2021, I was in my summer, and my father passed away then. And I dealt and I felt with those emotions, that grief, through that time. And on the year anniversary, I was in my fall, and it hit harder with that grief. and I really had to vent. I really had to process that with others that are in the know, with a counselor, other people that are walking the red road. I had to process those emotions, identifying those, staying mindful of those. And then on the second year anniversary of my father passing, I was in my winter, and that was this past March, and I was a wreck. I was like numb, emotionally unavailable for like the whole month of March. And but I knew that, and I was dealing and feeling in my best way that I could, really reaching out to my accountability people, those that are in my corner, talking about it, processing that through that time. Um, and that's just, like an example of fact. And really that the winter season, where if something were to happen to me in the spring, it would be like water off a duck's back. But I noticed here in the winter, my second time going through it, being aware that I'm going through it, things are heavier. Things like stick and eat away at me. So, you know, September 9th, I'm really looking forward to that day and my winter season ending. Now, there's another teaching that can be placed on the medicine wheel that's really helpful for me as well. So, like the spring is also representative of the east and your emotions. And then the summer, south, representative of south, your physical. The fall, the west, representative represents your mental. The winter represents north as well, and your spiritual. So the medicine wheel is also a representation of a person, and Native American teaching, a person is made up of the emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. And to address these areas every day in little simple ways. So for my mental, emotional, I journal. I'll write, even if it's just a couple sentences each day. Some days, I don't feel like journaling, but I'll open up my journal and I'll write that. So I don't want to journal today. This is dumb. I think this is really stupid today. But then as I'm writing, I'm like, where so and so said this to me, and it really got into my skin. And before I know it, I got a whole page filled up with just expressing myself. You know, journaling is that safe space for you to express yourself. And then another simple way just to address my physical, um, instead of taking the elevator, I'll take the steps at work. Instead of getting that pizza or cheeseburger I want, I'll have a low carb lunch. Um, just small areas, keeping it really simple, just doing little things to address those areas in your life. And then, of course, my spiritual for myself, smudge and pray. I'll do meditation, I'll do modulated breathing. Um, I'll just go sit outside, connect with Mother Earth, even in my yard. My neighbors pray, know me as the guy that just comes and sits in his yard. So I'll just go out there, take my socks and shoes off and sit in the yard um, for like, 3, 4, or 5 minutes just to feel Mother Earth, um, just ground myself. And these are just like really simple things that you can do to promote that. And what I find when I'm able to do these things each day and just address these 4 areas of my being every day, I stay in a state of responding. I'm able to respond to circumstances, situations, and individuals where prior to the Red Road, I was highly reactive. Um, and I operated in being reactive, so boom, 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 quick snaps. Um, but as I walk the Red Road and practice this, just this one teaching alone, I'm able to stay in that responding and not panic when things happen. Able to see the whole thing, the whole picture. I like to say, um, I'm a sports guy. I coach a lot of youth. I coach youth sports, so I always use the sports analogies. So I like to think every day I have unlimited timeouts. At any point in time during the day, I can call timeout, take a step back, regroup. If what I'm doing so far isn't working, all right, we need to come up with a new game plan. But my timeouts aren't 30 seconds or 60 seconds. My timeout could be an hour. Just step back, look at what's happening. Am I being reactive? Um, Even down to like, who am I surrounding myself with? Should I be surrounding myself with these people? Yes, no. Even to what I'm thinking about. Should I be thinking about this? What made me start thinking about this? And really practicing that mindfulness throughout the day so that I can stay in that responding. Because for me, being reactive is not a good place for me to be at. Um, any questions or anything so far?
No, this is really good. Thank you.
Okay.
Love the story and the analogies.
Right on.
Actually, Josiah, I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
knowing that winter is kind of a heavier, harder season to move through, um, how do you keep yourself from getting lost in that season? And then is that where the spiritual component of that season is really going to come into play?
Yeah. Um, so um, I prepared. Um, in my fall season, leading up to my winter season, I really prepared myself, like mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, to go into my winter season. And I have accountability people in my life. I have a spiritual sponsor. I have a sponsor for my walk on the red road. And I told them what's going on. I'm going into this I'm going into this winter season in my life. And if you don't hear from me for a few days, shoot me a text or call me, check on me. And there have been times in these 12 months where they wouldn't hear from me. I wouldn't be checking in or, shooting them some funny memes or whatever. And they would, just shoot me a text, hey, how's it going today? And I'm like, oh, I'm good, and a lot of it was, I was busy. My kids keep me busy. But I found even in just those with my kids that my irritability was heightened, where I had to really stay mindful of that it really wasn't having to do anything with them, but it was just because I was in my winter season. My irritability was strong, so I had to refrain from being snappy with them. With quick response. Like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Staying out of that, which is difficult at times. Those of you that have kids understand. But yeah, just that, and it was a very spiritual season. So I spent a lot of time in prayer. Like probably smudging a lot more than I did at any other time. So yeah, it's been very educational for myself too, just learning more about myself as far as what I need next time I go through this. You know, when it's year 11 to 12, you might walk on the red road. Okay, I just need some more people in my corner to help me process stuff. You know, my friends are good. You know, they're walking the red road, and I can vent to them. They're good sounding boards. You know, and I tell them, saying, I need to vent. They're like, go ahead, shoot. And I was like,
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that answer. So it looks like I think Wells has a question
okay.
as well.
Yeah, hey, so sorry if it's loud in the background, but love everything you're saying. You know, obviously I think a lot of this can be applied to, you know, just general life outside of addiction and recovery and stuff like that. I love what you were saying, you know, unlimited timeouts, just sitting in nature, just being present and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like maybe you're just lucky and that's just kind of the how your mind works. But do you for me, I'm always like, oh, I've got a million things I need to do. Like if I sit down and like try to be present, sit in nature and all those kinds of things, my mind's in like a million different places. Do you have any, like, I guess just tips on just how you, if maybe you were like me, I guess again, maybe you were just lucky, but kind of shifting that mindset from saying like, hey, how do I turn this brain on and be present and kind of focus on yourself, making words and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah, a lot of that, you know, a lot of times we're like, when we can't be in the moment, we're either future tripping or we're living in the past. So one thing that I really had to do early on when I was first starting to walk the red road is some real simple grounding techniques, like naming things around me, and even touching them. So like computer, shoulder, shirt, headphones, cup. 4 or 5 things, naming them, touching them, that gets you out of that future tripping or living in the past, and so brings you back to them, brings you to the here and the now. And then once I brought myself to the here and the now, to help keep myself here is I do modulated breathing, real simple one. Inhale for 2 seconds, hold it for a second, and exhale for 4. And repeating that. And even I find just doing that for a minute, you can feel yourself, like you feel the tension going away, and you just feel yourself relaxing. Not like to the point where you're falling asleep, but then you just like feel yourself relaxing, you know, just breathing in, inhale for 2 seconds, and then holding it for a second, exhale for 4, doing that for like a couple minutes. You just feel yourself just chilling out, and it helps you staying in the moment. And you know, like being out in nature or just standing there. If I don't have a lot of time, you know, even at my work, at the hospital, there's a healing garden. I'll walk out there, take my socks and shoes off, and I'll just stand in the grass. I'll just stand there for a few minutes and do some modulated breathing. And even just that, you know, few minutes, 5 minutes maybe, I just feel grounded. Okay, I can tackle the rest of the day. And I'll get back to it. And like for me, those things work. Simple things is a huge thing that we preach on for those that are walking the red road. Just keep it simple. I know myself, if I let my brain go, I'm overcomplicate everything. Then I won't get anything done. And I feel like it's too much. Because I know naturally I like to procrastinate.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you, Josiah.
No problem. Is there any more questions or comments or clarification that anybody needs? Good. Okay. I just got a couple more slides. I'll share this story with you, personal experience. So I was about, two and a half years into recovery, walking Red Road. And I had to make a big decision. And I consulted my accountability people and I made a decision, but it still wasn't sitting right with me. It felt like, it was a rock in a hard place. So a decision had to be made though. And I made the decision and I moved forward, but it was still bothering me. And so I consulted an elder at, I've been walking the red road longer than I've been alive. Asked her if we could meet and she agreed. And I told her the whole circumstance situation, told her about the decision that needed to be made and the decision that I did make. And that I was still not feeling okay with it. And she sat there for a few minutes and was kind of quiet, and she told me this analogy, this story. Is that if you walk up to a tree and you stand there and you lean on it, put your hands on it, and you look up, she said, the winds will come, but the tree doesn't fight the wind. It adapts, it moves with the wind, it sways with the wind. She said the storms come, but everything else runs. The rest of the living creatures, they all run away. The tree doesn't, and it stays there put. And the strong winds come and blow on the tree, but it doesn't fight back. It just moves with the tree. Leaves might fall off, limbs, branches might break off and go. The tree just keeps adapting, keeps swaying and moving with the wind. She said, what you don't see is that the roots are being loosened. And she said, when the storm's gone and the wind stopped blowing, that the roots just grow deeper from being loosened up and more fortified to withstand the next storm, which might be stronger. And the roots are your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I sat there and I just looked at her and I was like, oh, my mind was blown. I was like, oh, okay. Life has its storms. If we stay mindful and we stay up on these things where we're addressing our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual daily, then we're able to get through these storms and our roots are stronger and withstand the next one. And those leaves, those people, those limbs that break off, those leaves that fall off, those people that leave our lives, those opportunities that are gone, it's okay. Just let them go. And We have confidence, that our roots are strong and we have all we need to move forward. Now, those branches and those leaves that stayed, those people, those opportunities that stayed with you through that storm, that's who you got to rock with. That's who you roll with. I think we got about 8 minutes for any questions from anyone, or just some clarification needed on anything. Now, I'm speaking from my perspective as, being in recovery, walking Red Road, but like the individual said, these can be applied to even if, you're not struggling from addiction. These are just good practices to have.
Saya, I loved that story about the tree. That was just really great. I was wondering, I wrote down in my notes some of the wellness dimensions that go with the parts of the season, but I missed spring and summer. Could you share those again?
Spring, spring is your emotional. Summer is physical.
Okay, thank you.
Those are coming out of the Wellbriety teachings. So Wellbriety teachings are intertribal, meaning they took a lot of teachings from a lot of different tribes, put them together, put them in a book. Now, those mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, you might see a different medicine well where they're in different spots.
Okay.
Depending on that tribe, depending on the teachings from the different cultures.
Okay, thank you. And feel free, anyone who has questions or comments or anything to share, you can unmute yourself and just go ahead and share.
I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation today. You brought a lot of clarity to some parts of my life. And one question I did have is the struggle with the relationships. When you choose to recover and you choose sobriety to be a part of your daily life, how do you retain some of those relationships with those that may not choose sobriety, but they're still close to your heart? And you want to keep your sobriety, but also keep a connection without deterring from the red road.
Yeah, a couple of things, I definitely well aware of that, experience that, I got a brother who still, drinks and stuff, and I got other relatives that are, still in active use with other substances. And one of the things that I've come to terms with, is like I have to love them from afar. And also modeling that I'm walking the red road. If you want to join me, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But I'm going to walk the red road. And that's what I'm going to do for me, in hopes that, it might inspire them to be like, hey, he's doing good. He's sober. He's doing his thing. I want that. Or, and also, definitely keeping them in prayer. And also, like, one thing that I do is that I'll plant that seed with them, given the opportunity, planting that seed, sharing my story with them, how I came to the red road, how I stay walking the red road. I plant that seed, and then the next time I see them, I water it. Like, hey, you're thinking about quitting, are you tired? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Just kind of throwing those things at them. But in a good way, not coming from a judgmental place, and then the next time I see them, it's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing with that recovery? You want to come join me now? I do those things. But gauging the person too. Because some individuals, they're not ready. They don't want to hear it. And so I'll plant that seed, but I won't say anything about recovery next time I see them, unless they bring it up. And that's an open door, and I jump all over that opportunity.
I got some seeds to plant them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious about how these concepts inform the work that you do at the hospital, whether a patient is experiencing substance use disorder or not, and how maybe this informs your professional work.
I would say not so much my job now. At Bellings Clinic, I'm more of a educator to Bellings Clinic employees. I don't have any patient facing, but I was working in suicide prevention for urban Native youth prior to this job, and I used a lot of these teachings with those kids at our events. And then prior to that, I was an addiction counselor where our curriculum was all well-variety, and it was something that our Native clients really clung on to and move forward with their lives. Some of them, a good handful of them, went back to college. Now they're addiction counselors. And my first introduction to well-variety teachings, medicine well teachings, they're like big light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to help me move forward. These are ancestral teachings, applying them to my life today.
I know you have to go here in just a couple seconds, but we do have one question in the chat. How important is balance in the medicine wheel model?
Oh yeah, very important. That's why I say keep it simple, like the journaling and offering up a little prayer in the morning, and then journaling for your mental, emotional, staying mindful of what you're thinking, what you're feeling that day, spiritual, meditation, grounding yourself, and then physical, having that low carb lunch. Just really balancing in that way. You keep it simple, then you've addressed all 4 areas every day. There's a saying my dad used to always say, he said, don't get too spiritual or don't get too heavenly minded, it's good.
All right. Well, I know you have to go. So we are so grateful for your time. If anyone else does have any questions, you can send them to me. I'll make sure to get them over to Josiah. But Josiah, thank you so much for coming. To everyone.
Thank you, Josiah.
Thank you
Very
so
good.
much. Yep. And we will
Thank you guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all.